Hi, I'm Warren Sprouse. I'm your host and your guide on the Bible Forum every Sunday night from 8 to 10 p.m. right here on thebibleforum.net. Tonight I wanted to talk to you about what in the world is going on. Are you paying attention? Radical Islam is on the move. It is now recruiting actively in your state, if not in your city. Young people increasingly seem to be more enamored of this movement, not because it's a great career path choice, but because it represents a cause. Young people love causes. Give them something to die for, as it were, and they're there with you. Tell them that you'll make it easy for them, and they lose interest quickly. Young people are idealistic, and they're not too sophisticated. You can convince them of a lot of stuff. In Washington, we are debating our security, specifically the NSA's ability to collect data on every living soul. Now, clearly that's an exaggeration, but it's not much of an exaggeration, and one day it will be a reality. And the issue that we're struggling with is the issue of security. Would you be willing to trade some of your freedoms for a greater degree of security in your life? And the answer is yes, you would. We all would. We already have, and we love it. You haven't done it? Yeah, you have. Can you say Google? I went online, and I believe I used a search engine that wasn't Google, one that the internet doesn't follow. I used DuckDuckGo, and they say that nobody's watching what you're doing. And I was looking at some things in South Carolina, anticipating the future. And I did it for about 10 or 15 minutes, just looked at a few websites and checked some things and went on about my business. 2 days later, I got emails from some of these companies, some of these products, some of the things I was looking up. How is that possible? We sacrifice a lot, and there is no real security. I know you can go on and you can say, I don't want anybody to track what I'm doing on my website. And if you don't know you can do that, you need to know you can do that. You go into your settings and preferences, and it's in there where you can, nobody will, your computer will not keep track of what you're doing, and nobody else will seemingly know what you're doing. Of course, it's on the server. You can't avoid the footprint, but you can slow it down. In major American cities, largely run by Democrats, the crime rate is literally off the chart. We hear about Baltimore. Baltimore has doubled the number of murders in their city, with 43 homicides just last month. That's double. Chicago has seen over 900 shootings so far this year, 2015. And it's not even halfway through. This is only the beginning of June. Atlanta's crime rate is up 10%. Milwaukee's up 32% just in their homicide rate. Violent crime is up 10% in Dallas, and New York City is recording numbers higher than 20% over last year. What's going on? Heather McDonald of the Wall Street Journal says that it's a war on cops. It's not just an increase in bad apples. It's that the police are always the bad guys, and now they know it. The police are deliberately scaling back, doing what the press and the radicals have required of them. They are no longer being aggressive. They are no longer stopping folks and frisking them. If they're out walking in a bad section where nobody else is, or if they are doing something that's suspicious, I don't know what the criteria is, but they apparently are allowed to do this, and they have been doing it, and now they're not. and it's one of the reasons the crime rate has gone up. They don't ask people where they're going anymore. They don't make traffic stops as often. And the question is, isn't that what you want? Stay out of my life. Thomas Sowell wrote this week, the Obama administration's Department of Justice has been leading the charge when it comes to presuming that the police are guilty. Not only until proven innocent, but even after grand juries have gone over all the facts and acquitted them. Can you say Ferguson? What do these activists want? What is their end game? Well, it really doesn't matter, since every so-called special interest group is complaining that something different and demanding the same kinds of things. Every special interest group out there is advocating for less order in the society and more license. This week on the radio, it was announced that as a result of the Baltimore riots, there's enough drugs on the street in Baltimore to keep the entire city high for a year. The police are not policing. Businesses are not returning. None of the criminals have been arrested, even though they know who they are. And the media is now blaming the Republican governor. Isn't that an amazing turn of events? So I ask you again, would you be willing to trade your freedom for security? And before you answer, let me read to you a portion from the scriptures. The Apostle Paul said, "But of the times and seasons, brethren, you have no need that I write unto you, for you yourselves know perfectly that the day of the Lord so cometh as a thief in the night. For when they shall say, peace and safety, then suddenly destruction cometh upon them, as a travail of a woman with child, and they shall not escape. But ye, brethren, are not in darkness, that that day should overtake you as a thief. Ye are all children of light, and the children of the day. We are not of the night, nor of darkness. Therefore let us not sleep, as do others, but let us watch and be sober." That's a quote from Paul's first epistle to the Thessalonians in chapter 5, talking about the time when people all over the world will willingly trade freedom for security. I remember hearing that verse, people preaching it, teaching it, reading it myself, and wondering as a young man how this would ever come about. It was a totally foreign concept to a child of the 1940s and 1950s. But my friends, it is no longer foreign. Young people are generally ignorant of anything that's going on in their country, let alone in the world. If it doesn't happen on Facebook or on the Jimmy Kimmel Show, it's not worth knowing. Ask them about the U.S. Constitution. Ask them anything about the founding principles. Ask them how your government works. Ask them the names of the players. None of this matters to these people, as long as they can continue to tweet or to text or to play games on their smartphones. 70% of the applications installed on phones are games. Angry Bird leads the pack in the sheer number, probably because it's so old. But a website called abouttech.com says that it's Grand Theft Auto that is currently the most popular free download. And we all know these are educational games, right? The prophecy revealed by Paul points to a time when everything we know will end. And he says it will come quickly. It will come unexpectedly. One day, everything is going to seem normal, and the next day, the whole world is going to be upside down. I don't mean literal 24-hour days, but it's going to seem like a day. The fullness of prophecy points to the Middle East. There's a surprise. One day the world will see an international leader, a Western leader, moving on the Middle East. He's coming to settle the conflict. Is there a conflict in the Middle East? Yeah, the whole place is chaos. And Israel will rejoice to see her Savior. In the book of the Revelation, the picture is of a man riding on a white horse, as if he were Jesus. But he's a false Messiah. The next day, the world will erupt in almost total chaos. Here's someone who's coming to solve a problem, and it's going to create 10 more. The whole world will erupt in a chaos that will last at least 3.5 years. In that time period, more than 20% of the world's population will die an untimely death. Think of the disease something like that would cause. And it's going to happen as a result of war and of pestilence, of disease, famine, lack of potable water, and starvation due to this economic and political upheaval. And at the end of that 3.5 years, then the real tribulation starts. And while this pot is stewing, we in America will no doubt be going merrily upon our way, glad the government is being vigilant, never noticing the steady erosion of our rights and privacies. Government business leaders understand the value, indeed the necessity, of rights and privacies. Can you say private server? They know. An old-timer once said, eternal vigilance is the price for freedom. Old-timer, John Adams. If you knew that was John Adams, you're probably over 60 years of age. The kids have no idea who John Adams is or what it was he ever did. How is all this going to play out? Nobody really knows. There's nothing that gives us a clear instruction regarding these things. But we are told in the Bible enough that we can kind of piece it together and we can see. You saw the report this week of TSA, a 97% failure record in stopping guns and bombs. What do you think that's going to do? You're not happy you got to take your belt off? You're going to be lucky if you get to keep your clothes on. Are they going to, what, profile people? I hope so. It's really the only way to protect ourselves. And we're going to want protection because we want to fly. It's going to get interesting. And then Jesus is going to come. Are you ready?